We all know that Nanobanana Pro can create incredible product images, like this one or this one. But now there's serious competition because the new ChatGPT Image Model 1.5 can create images like this or even this. So which one is actually better for your brand? I tested them both side by side, so let's find out. So Gemini's Nanobanana Pro by Google versus ChatGPT's Image Model 1.5 by OpenAI. So which model is better? We designed multiple tests to find out, and these tests actually reflect real use cases for e-com sellers, because we want to figure out which model is actually better for business. And I can already tell you that the results are pretty close. So let's take a look at the first test, which is all about product accuracy. What you're going to see here is on the left side, we have the input. That is our reference image we share with the model. In between, we have the exact prompt, because both models actually received the exact same prompt and the exact same reference image, to be fair, of course. And on the right side, we have the results. For our product accuracy, the first product we are testing is a drinking glass. And as you can see, the design is quite unique. And we want to see if the model managed to show the design exactly as it is. So let's take a look at it. The first one is Nanobanana Pro. And as you can see, the image is pretty nice. We have one glass with juice, one glass with Coca-Cola. The setting, pretty good, very realistic. And as we can see, the glass actually itself seems very accurate to our reference image. And even the bottom, as you can see, is actually showing the design quite nicely. Now, if we take a look at the GPT's model by OpenAI, we can see that the design of the glass is a little bit different. It is not as tall, and the bottom of the glass seems to be completely round, which of course, based on our reference image, is not the case. Of course, the colors and the setting, maybe the colors are a little bit more saturated, but again, it is realistic. I like the image overall, and of course it followed the prompt very nicely. But if we take a look at the details and the design, it didn't do a very good job. Plus, I would say the reflections and the light coming through the glass here looks more realistic than what it is right here. So here I would have to give the point to Nanobanana Pro. Let's take a look at the next product. Here we are going to focus on a coffee machine. And I recently bought this coffee machine, so I know exactly what it looks like, so I can tell you which one is actually better. Now, here we actually wanted to test the material, right? Because we can see that it is stainless steel. Part of that is matte and part of that is glossy, so we want to see some reflections. And of course, the details, the text on the product. So let's take a look at the result. Here's the prompt if you want to pause the video and read it. And here we have Nanobanana. So let's zoom in. Of course, they are very good at following the prompt, right? We will have everything in the image we ask for. But what we care about is the product itself. As we can see, the steel here, the matte part, is pretty good. Even the reflections here are depicted very nicely. Even the logo here, you know, the text right here looks pretty good to me. Some of the icons, I would say, might be a little bit off, and some of the text, but of course we are zooming in a lot. If we keep it like this, I believe the product is very accurate. The setting, also nice, but let's take a look at ChatGPT. Here again, the logo, pretty good. Everything seems good to me. Also the materials, the stainless steel, the reflections look very beautiful. And in this case, I actually like the vibe of the image by ChatGPT a little bit more, right? This one is a little bit too plain, right? Too kind of boring. I like the composition here a bit more, the colors, the warmer colors. So I can imagine this one being a nicer image, even though, of course, ChatGPT forgot some of these things, you know, like the text right here, but we can also make these little adjustments later on. Also, one thing worth noting is that the images by Nanobanana are higher resolutions. I assume that ChatGPT will eventually update the model so we can download it at a higher resolution, but this is something that will also affect the quality of the text, right? We have to keep that in mind, that is mainly about the resolution. Of course, here is a little mistake that the coffee is kind of going outside of the cup, which of course is not great. Here it works out well. But again, Nanobanana Pro, I would say more realistic, but in terms of the vibe and the setting, I like ChatGPT more here. So I would probably give the point to ChatGPT. Again, it's quite subjective, so you can decide yourself. The third product, we chose a yoga mat with a very complicated design. And what we want to see, of course, is if the model is able to show the design exactly as it is, right? So the first product was glass, then we had metal, and here we have very complicated design if it's able to replicate it, right? So this is our reference image, this is our prompt, and now let's take a look. Nanobanana did a pretty good job, right? We have a simple photo. That's all we asked for because we were curious about the design itself. And as you can see, zooming in and comparing the design, right? So you need to focus on the setting and how the design is structured. And if we compare it with the reference image, we can see that it is actually very, very accurate. Of course, the colors, but most of the pattern, as we can see, if you can focus on a few details, you know, we have the white and then the little arrows, let's say, right? So it did a pretty good job. I would say it's almost perfect, right? We have this part, even the placement of the pattern we want to check. So if we are looking at the bottom side, it all seems good to me. So I would say this one is 10 out of 10 in terms of the pattern. Maybe I'm overseeing something, but I would say it's very, very accurate. Now let's take a look at ChatGPT. Again, on the first look, I would say it's good. But if we zoom in, we start noticing some problems. Like here, it's some weird fold that's not there, right? Here, the pattern is breaking a little bit. But most importantly, the pattern doesn't seem to be correct, right? Because these ones should be in one line, right? I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but you can see this one with the white one, with this opening, should be with one line, and the line here goes all the way here, even though it should go to this opening. So it is kind of moved to the side. So again, on the first sight, it might look like it's there, but when we start inspecting, we notice these errors. So I would say, even though the colors and kind of the composition, again, looks a little bit more interesting for ChatGPT, I would say for me, Nanobanana wins this point as well. Now, let's move on to the next test, which, very important, text and labels. A lot of products people sell, of course, packaging or the product itself, have text and logos on the product. And we want to make sure that those are as accurate as possible. So here we chose a drink, and as you can see on the can, we have orange here, you know, we have the logo, we have the Celsius Live Fit, and we have some small tiny text, you know, natural flavor with other natural flavors, not sure what it means, but it's there. Then we have a few icons, you know, 355 milliliters, 0 sugar. So as you can see, the colors, the text, also the logo here, right? Trying to remember what it looks like, because then we use this prompt to compare and create this image. So to make it a little bit harder, you know, we wanted to put the can into liquid, you know, to kind of splash the liquid. So as you can see right here from Nanobanana Pro, we have this cool image, you know, the can being dropped into some liquid, into water, or the drink itself. And let's investigate. So we have orange here, the logo looks fine to me. Of course, the big text, that's kind of easy for the models. But what we are interested in is the small tiny text right here, natural flavor with other natural flavors. Maybe here is some small little mistake. But overall, the icons seem pretty good, 355 milliliters. The text here, the colors, it looks good to me. I would say this bottom text might need some fixing, but overall, I would say like 9 out of 10. Pretty good. Now, let's take a look at ChatGPT. So first of all, what we noticed right away, that it didn't really do as good of a job, you know, showcasing that it's like half submerged in liquid. Again, I kind of like the composition more, you know, it's a little bit busier, right? It looks more like an ad, you know, that's kind of in your face. But if we zoom in, the orange text, the logo, everything looks fine to me. But of course, when we get to the smaller text, it's kind of broken. And I want to stress out again, it's mainly due to the resolution, right? Because as you can see, Nanobanana Pro can export at a much higher resolution. And I assume if they ever update the model, that should be fine. But overall, there are some mistakes, right? As you can see, some of these icons are not as good as detailed. Overall, not great. Also considering the fact that it didn't really follow the instructions because we wanted to showcase it half submerged based on the prompt. but still pretty good, right? I would say it's usable. We have the logo here, and like this text is really too small. So if you had as an ad on Facebook or something on Instagram, you wouldn't really notice, right? So let's see in the future if might be able to export in a higher resolution, but overall, I would give the point again to Nanobanana. Now let's take a look at the next one. Here we have a product with a lot of text, and we want to make it even harder for the image model, right? So of course we have a sunscreen, Amazon basics, and we wanted to showcase the product on the beach, but this time we put 2 of these tubes in there so we can see if it can still handle it. So we have Nanobanana Pro, and always the first look, it looks good, but we are zooming in, we want to investigate. So the logo and everything looks fine, but when we get to the smaller text, you know, there should be dermatology tested, not doing a good job. It's already messing up the text right here. Not to mention the second one, which is completely messed up, right? This one is unusable, right? Because we are making it harder for the model by including 2, and also the second one is at a different angle, right? So here, I couldn't give this a pass. This is simply not usable from Nanobanana. Now, let's take a look at ChatGPT, and interestingly enough, it does a better job with the text. The first one is actually better, more accurate, right? There are still some small mistakes, but I would say this one is nearly perfect. And the second one is a little messed up. Again, this is kind of to be expected, but overall, I would say it did a better job than Nanobanana. And even, again, the colors, as you can see, it's really doing a better job to like showcase the product, right? It's taking more space. The colors might look a little bit more artificial. This is, of course, subjective, because this looks more like a realistic photo, and this looks more like a beautiful, almost too perfect, you know, 3D render, but it would still work, right? It would get your attention because the colors and everything is just very beautiful. So this one would go to GPT. Now, let's move on to the third category, and I would say one of the most important ones, lifestyle, where we want to showcase the product in use, we want to show people, and these images can get very complex. And of course, we want to depict people the most realistic way possible. So our input is a chef's knife. As you can see, it's a beautiful knife. We have the prompt right here. And now we want to see the results. So first of all, Nanobanana. As you can see, the image is very, very nice. It basically looks like a photo, right? We are getting there that these lifestyle images generated look like a photo. And I can imagine this on a beautiful listing, you know, for the product. It's showcasing the product very nicely. You know, the chef is in the kitchen, the light is working perfectly. And I basically don't see any issues, right? The knife looks pretty good to me. And it's kind of the main focus point of the image, you know, and the person also looks very, very realistic. Now, let's take a look at the GPT. Again, since the prompt is the same, we have a chef, you know, there's another chef in the background in a professional kitchen. But I believe that this, again, it might be subjective, that this one is actually showcasing the product better. It's more like prominent in the photo, right? So I can literally see the knife very nicely as the main focal point of the image. And I like the colors more. Here, like, this really looks like a photo, which is incredible. But this one looks, again, more like an ad, you know. This is, I can imagine some text here, you know, and having the knife as really the main focal point. So I would give the point here to the GPT image model, right? Next one, we have a travel coffee mug. And here we wanted to create something different. So in the prompt, we basically asked to showcase the product, you know, in a darker environment, you know, early morning, raining, and we want to see how they can handle it. So first of all, Nanobanana Pro handled it pretty well. Again, looks very realistic. You know, the lights, you can see that it's very early in the morning, it's raining, you know, and we have the product. Again, very nice. I don't have much else to say. I think it's a pretty nice photo. But when we take a look at the GPT, this one looks, again, almost too beautiful. What they messed up is that the mug actually, of course, the logo is a bit off and has 2 handles. So I could not give this a pass. Like, we have the more realistic product definitely here. But you can see the difference. Now, probably you're seeing the pattern that ChatGPT, without prompting, without like describing the model in too much detail, you know, ChatGPT always that everyone is always, super beautiful, everything is super polished, while Nanobanana, it has the more realistic feel, right? So we're starting to understand that it might not be about the model, but about your brand and the strategy behind it, right? So I couldn't give this a pass, but you can see also doing, if the product was correct, maybe we could fix it, ask for some iterations. The steam is also a little bit off, but overall the composition, again, very nice, showcasing the product. Again, I can imagine text on the left side. It's almost as prepared, for a listing photo to showcase the product. So here I would give the point to Nanobanana, but with a little bit of work, I believe that the GPT image could be better. And lastly, for the lifestyle, we have Honey. But here we ask to add multiple people into the scene. It's a busy scene, there's the whole family, in the morning. So you can see, family of 4 actively engaged in breakfast. That was our prompt. And here Nanobanana, we see the product right here. And it basically, again, looks like a photo. The details on the table, the food, the liquids here, everything looks very, very realistic. So again, very, very nice photo. I definitely like this one. And we will see the same pattern here with GPT. It messed up a little bit the lid of the product. I don't think it's such a big deal. I don't know who opens a lid like this, but I guess it could be done. But overall, they always adjust the composition in a way that it's like the product is very dominant in the photo. Overall, the people, the liquids, the breakfast, everything seems good to me. There are no like weird artifacts as far as I can see. Maybe here the knife kind of turns into a fork. Somehow the fork is a little bit awkward right here. But overall, I would say, again, I like the composition a bit better here to showcase the product, right? So this looks more like a photo. This looks more like an ad, right? That is the pattern we are seeing. Now, let's take a look at test number 4, which is a complex composition. This is specifically if you have specific requirements to showcase an image where you have multiple pieces, multiple things in specific spots, right? So we are just testing if the model can showcase. So as we can see, we ask for a coffee bag position in the center, white ceramic mug front left, then we have coffee beans scattered at the bottom right? So we are very specific of what we want. And here we will see the result that both models did a very good job, right? So here I would say both are pretty much perfect. Again, GPT is focused more on the composition, while Nanobanana just kind of put it there. It's correct, but it's not as nicely set as on the right side. But, I was like, let's put more, let's put 10 items in their position. So you can see coffee bag, mug, French press, dripper, coffee bean, stainless steel milk pitcher. So we have 10 items. And basically did the same thing. And the model did a pretty good job, I would say. Nanobanana followed it more accurately, so it depicted each and every single item very correctly, right? The correct size and correct placement, right? And we try to trick it a little bit. So as you can see, the wooden honey dipper is diagonal across sugar bowl, right? So we try to confuse it a little bit. And it did a pretty good job. While the GPT's image model also, on the first look, it did a good job, but actually the honey dipper somehow is put in the sugar, right? So there it was a little bit confused, so we don't have all of the items correctly. But again, this is a very specific scenario that might not be relevant to everyone, but I would say both models did a pretty good job, even though Nanobanana is slightly better. Now, the last test, and I would even say the most important, is graphics and infographics, because most of the time we are just not creating images. We also want some design in there, maybe text, maybe an icon, maybe both. So what we did here, we have the prompt, which also describes the text overlay. And here what is important to see, that we are not describing the branding, and we are kind of expecting the model to take the branding from the product itself. So they receive the reference image right here. As you can see, that is an olive oil from Italy, from Tuscany. And we have this beautiful prompt. So let's see, Nanobanana Pro did a very, very good job. We have the beautiful product here, it's at the center. We have a taste of Tuscany or 1000 years. We have the badge here. So it handled the text in the image. It handled, here the bar. And as you can see, the branding, the colors, it just works with the product. You know, it's the font, the colors. It understood the assignment very well. Now, ChatGPT actually did a very good job as well. The image is a little bit more saturated, a little bit more polished. I actually like a lot the badge here. Looks very nice. Even the selection of the fonts, the colors, looks very good. Over 1,000 years of Frescobaldi family looks good. Maybe the Taste of Tuscany is too high, you know, that it kind of didn't set up the image properly. But again, even though the image first look, it looks great, I wouldn't give it a pass because the product is completely off, right? That's the problem. I believe that if we are asking for a lot of specific things, a lot of requirements, ChatGPT is not as consistent. If you remember the can or the sunscreen, it did a really good job with the labels, actually better than Nanobanana Pro, but sometimes it's just not consistent. And to be fair, I generated one image for each. You know, if I was playing with it, I would create like 5 of these and maybe one of them it would get right. But to be fair, I just generated one image, took the first image and put it here just to see which model performs better. So even though the image itself, very good, the lifestyle, but the text, even the badge, the product itself is off. So this one would go to Nanobanana. Then we have our honey again, but this time we are asking to create badges, you know, kind of the why this product is better than others. So we want to have text over like premium raw American honey, 4 badge icons, you know, USDA organic, made in USA, and so on. So we had this assignment, and again, the model had to understand the branding and create the badges accordingly. So here we have Nanobanana. So you can see the font, again, works very well. The colors and the badges, the icons are actually very nice, right? I would say here we have the product, you know, the main focus point of the image, the setting, it really works with the text. So I would say this image is pretty much perfect for me. And then let's take a look at ChatGPT. It basically did the same thing. I would say the badges are maybe a little bit too much, right? A little bit too many colors, and maybe the headline could be a little bit bigger. But again, that's something that could be easily fixed. And also, what I'm noticing here is that it did a really good job with the jar, with the text, right? So as I said, it's not always as consistent. I would say it even, it's basically the same level. Looks pretty good. So what I would do in post-production, I would just increase the size of this headline, and I would say both are 10 out of 10 for me. They're just fulfilling the requirement. So I would say it's a tie here, right here. And the last one, we have a pillow. And here we wanted to do the traditional us versus them, you know, comparison. One thing versus the good thing, right? So again, very simple assignment from Nanobanana Pro. We have these, you know, our pillow stays cool. The icons, as you can see, are very good. Also the others pillow, it's pretty bad, which is a good thing, right? We wanted to showcase which one is better. So I would say this one very cool, very clean, and it actually took the branding from the product, right? So it just sees the font here and it understands that it's kind of like a simple, modern, clean design, and I like that. And then ChatGPT, right? A little bit simpler, messing up some of the icons. Overall, I would say it's fine, but the icons, as you can see, are much, much cleaner and more understandable here on Gemini's side, because here that is washable. I don't know what I'm looking at, right? So again, we are facing the same issue that we might have to make the image and generate it a few more times to get it right. But overall, I was very much surprised that ChatGPT's images are doing way better than I expected. And it's not necessarily that one image is better than the other. Ideally, you use both, or ideally you actually understand what your customers want to see. And I believe that this will be the main point of actual conversion rate optimization. That it's not about having beautiful images. Everyone will have beautiful images, but it will be about understanding your customer, what they want to see and what resonates with them, right? Because some products, let's say beauty products, would work better with ChatGPT because it's just perfection. Like everything is polished, everything looks like a photo in a magazine, right? While some other products like let's say the olive oil here, might benefit from having something more realistic, right? More authentic. So I think this is an important understanding. But at the end of the day, it's best for us, the users, that there is a competition. You don't want to have one company, Nanobanana Pro, dominating everyone. It's great that these new models are popping up. We can test it and we can see, something for some brands. This model is better, and for some other brands, it might be Nanobanana. So that's it for today. If you want to see how to scale this process with N8 and AI automation, where you can create full listings with one click, I show you how I build this automation in this video right here. So make sure to go ahead and watch it now, and I will see you next week. Bye.